In the summer of 2006, he and David Karslake Watkins stood on the stage of Reading Festival, drenched in sweat, fists raised above tens of thousands of fans screaming his lyrics back at him. He was the magnetic frontman of Lostprophets, one of Britain's biggest rock exports of the 2000s. His voice defined an era, a fusion of metal's aggression and pop's melody, and his dark, piercing stare made him an icon. By the time he hit his early 30s, Watkins had fame, a cult-like following, and money rolling in from platinum records and sold-out tours. At the peak of his career, his estimated net worth surpassed $3 million, a testament to a decade of global success. But fast forward to October 2025, and that same name, once screamed by adoring fans, was being whispered in disgust. After years behind bars, Watkins's fortune had dwindled to an estimated $500,000, most of it frozen in royalties and residuals. His life, marked by brilliance and depravity, had ended violently inside one of Britain's most notorious prisons. Early life. Ian Watkins was born on July 30th, 1977, in Merthyr Tydfil, a town in South Wales once fueled by coal and steel. He grew up in Pontypridd, a place where hard work was valued, and dreams of fame were rare. Little is publicly known about his family. His parents were working class, stable, ordinary people trying to raise a son who from an early age seemed different. Teachers described him as quiet yet creative, a boy who often got lost in his sketchbooks and mixtapes. At Hawthorne High School, he met Mike Lewis, a friendship that would shape his destiny. Together they bonded over punk rock and heavy metal, forming small garage bands that played for friends in local halls. Watkins wasn't just a musician. He was a thinker and a designer. After finishing school, he enrolled at the University of Wales, Newport, where he studied graphic design and graduated with first-class honors. Even then, he saw himself not just as a performer, but a visual architect, someone who wanted to shape both sound and image. Those early years laid the groundwork for Lostprophets' sharp, modern aesthetic, where album covers, stage lights, and branding all carried Watkins's artistic fingerprints. Personal life. In the glare of fame, Ian Watkins cultivated mystery. He gave the press enough charm to stay intrigued, but never enough to truly know him. He was never married and had no publicly confirmed children. Romantic entanglements came and went: models, fans, fellow musicians. But none were lasting or rooted in stability. Religion didn't feature prominently in his life. If anything, Watkins's worldview was more nihilistic. Fame, adrenaline, and excess became his gods. As one bandmate once said in an interview, Ian believed he could bend the world to his will. Outside of music, Watkins dabbled in fashion design and charity gigs, and occasionally supported local causes in Wales. His academic background in design showed through Lostprophets artwork, merchandise, and logos, sleek, urban, futuristic. But beneath the cool exterior, darker habits were forming. Friends later recalled his increasing drug use: cocaine, methamphetamine, and ketamine, substances that turned the confident performer into a reckless figure spiraling into addiction. The fame that had once empowered him soon became the fuel for his downfall. Professional career. The story of Lostprophets began like so many rock legends do, in a damp Welsh rehearsal room. Watkins, along with Mike Lewis, Lee Gaze, and other local musicians, formed the band in the late 1990s. They were ambitious from day one. While other local acts were covering Nirvana, Lostprophets were crafting something polished, radio-ready, and explosive. Their debut album, The Fake Sound of Progress 2000, captured that raw energy. It was a sleeper hit, blending punk, metal, and electronic influences. Songs like Shinobi vs. Dragon Ninja and Cobra Kai turned heads in Britain and earned the band international attention. By 2004, with Start Something, they broke into the global mainstream. Watkins was everywhere: magazine covers, MTV interviews, and screaming stages from Tokyo to Los Angeles. The band's third album, Liberation Transmission 2006, topped the UK charts. Lostprophets were no longer underdogs. They were superstars. Yet behind the scenes, cracks were forming. Fame had inflated Watkins's ego. Touring became a carousel of parties, drugs, and late-night excesses. The once tight brotherhood of the band strained under his erratic behavior. By 2010's The Betrayed and 2012's Weapons, creative exhaustion and Watkins's instability were obvious. Then, in December 2012, the world stopped. Ian Watkins was arrested and charged with multiple counts of child sexual offenses, allegations so horrific that they shattered the band's legacy overnight. In December 2013, Watkins pleaded guilty to 13 charges, including attempted rape of a child and possession of indecent images. He was sentenced to 29 years in prison, plus an extended license period. Lostprophets disbanded before the trial even ended. The music that once defined a generation was now a chilling reminder of a double life. House tour and car collection. Unlike many rock stars, Watkins didn't flaunt his wealth through sprawling mansions or exotic cars, at least not publicly. Before his arrest, he owned a home in Pontypridd, South Wales, a modern yet modest residence filled with music equipment, studio gear, and dark modern decor, reflecting his aesthetic. Those who visited often described walls covered in platinum records and designer furniture mixed with clutter from years of touring. There were rumors, though never fully confirmed, of a flat in London where he stayed during recording sessions and possibly a property in Los Angeles, where Lostprophets often worked. As for cars, Watkins was photographed occasionally with sports models, including a black BMW M3 and a Porsche Cayman, though ownership details were never verified. Unlike rock icons who collected Ferraris, Watkins's indulgences were mostly chemical, not mechanical. After his conviction, all assets were seized, frozen, or sold. By the mid-2020s, any remaining property or royalties were managed under legal oversight, the remnants of a fortune built on fame and destroyed by crime. College career. Watkins's time at the University of Wales, Newport, might seem like a footnote, but it's a key to understanding his creative duality. He wasn't just a musician, he was an artist with a designer's eye. His final year projects, according to former classmates, explored identity and media imagery, themes that would eerily echo in his later life. He graduated with first-class honors in graphic design, earning praise for his technical skill and creativity. In another life, Ian Watkins might have become a visual artist or creative director. But music's call was louder. His academic discipline gave him a strong aesthetic sensibility that translated perfectly to album covers, merchandise, and stage visuals. It was design that gave his chaos form, until the chaos consumed the man entirely. Cause of death. On October 11, 2025, at HM Prison Wakefield, a maximum security institution nicknamed Monster Mansion, for housing Britain's most dangerous offenders, Ian Watkins's life came to a brutal end. He was attacked and stabbed multiple times by fellow inmates during morning movement. Guards responded quickly, but the wounds were catastrophic. Watkins, aged 48, was pronounced dead at the scene. Reports confirmed that 2 inmates were charged with his murder. The attack came after years of rising violence inside Wakefield and warnings about the safety of high-profile sex offenders. To the public, his death sparked divided reactions: outrage, grim satisfaction, pity, and reflection. For many, it was a brutal full stop to a decade of horror. For others, it was a reminder of the failures, both of a man and the institutions that failed to stop him sooner. The shadows behind the music. Watkins's downfall remains one of the darkest chapters in British rock history. In 2015, the Independent Police Complaints Commission, IPCC, published findings that police had missed numerous opportunities to investigate earlier reports against him. Between 2008 and 2012, multiple warnings went unheeded. Those failures allowed Watkins to continue his crimes longer than he should have. The scandal not only destroyed Lostprophets, but also forced a reckoning within the music industry. Managers, promoters, and fan communities began re-evaluating how access and trust could be exploited by fame. Watkins became a symbol not of rock's rebellion, but of its moral collapse. Legacy and reflection. How does one remember a man like Ian Watkins? To some, he was once the voice of a generation, a frontman who could command tens of thousands with a single scream. To others, he was a monster hiding behind eyeliner and microphones. Lostprophets, surviving members went on to form a new band, No Devotion, reclaiming their art from the ruins of Watkins' sins. They refused to let his crimes define their entire legacy. Yet for many fans, the music they once loved now carries an unbearable weight. Songs like Last Train Home and Rooftops, once anthems of youth and freedom, now sound hollow, haunted by the reality of their creator. Watkins' story isn't one of simple tragedy. It's a cautionary tale about unchecked power, about the corrupting influence of fame, and about how charisma can mask unimaginable evil. It's also a mirror reflecting the darker side of the entertainment industry, a world that worships talent and too often ignores the warning signs. When the prison gates finally closed behind Ian Watkins, his story should have ended there. But fate had one final, violent act to deliver. His death in 2025 was both justice and tragedy. Justice for those he harmed. Tragedy for what he might have been had his genius not curdled into depravity. Looking back, Ian Watkins' biography reads like a Greek tragedy disguised as a rock documentary. A boy from a small Welsh town becomes a global rock star. Adored, invincible, untouchable. But behind the fame lurked obsession, addiction, and moral decay. His story raises the uncomfortable truth about hero worship. The same pedestal that lifts someone up can also hide their sins in shadow. Watkins used fame as both shield and weapon, manipulating trust until it finally collapsed around him. By October 14, 2025, his legacy lay in ruins. His wealth reduced, his band disbanded, his name synonymous not with music, but with horror. And in a small, cold cell in Wakefield, the story of Ian David Karslake Watkins came to an end. Violently, fittingly, and inevitably. In the end, he became what he had always flirted with, a ghost of his own making, haunting the ruins of the music he once ruled.